Hi, I'm Mark Small. This is Civil Discourse Now for October 2nd, 2022. Think about guns and how they can deter things, like people trying to take things from your home. The only way that they have any deterrent value is if you can use a gun, if you can use it. Now, a gun doesn't throw out like some kind of radiation or vibes that prevent somebody from coming into your home. They're not little magic objects that say, stop, don't enter this place. They're weapons. You have to be able to use a gun in order for it to have any deterrent value. The reason I say that is that if you're thinking about whether you should have a gun for self-defense or defend your home, think about what the circumstances are. Now, we don't know, and we don't know what the studies would show because the NRA, funded as it is in part by Russia, that's always a fun thing to know. The NRA has blocked effectively any kind of peer reviewed studies of gun violence as a health problem. They've done that since the mid 90s. The reason that's important is a lot of people wonder whether they should own a gun. And if they knew that studies would indicate that they're more likely to be harmed than for that gun to have any kind of deterrent effect, they might not buy a gun. And that might make us all a lot more safe. So think about it this way. First of all, if you wonder whether you should own a gun, the default should be no, you shouldn't own a gun. And despite what some people say, guns didn't make this country free. We had a lot of people who rose up against the British and used a lot of other things in the 1700s in order for the colonies at that point to no longer be under the rule of the king. A lot of people who lived here weren't free and didn't have full rights. Women, slaves, people who lived here before Europeans got here, the indigenous peoples, get beyond that. You have to ask yourself, you need a gun, then you probably shouldn't have one. But if you're curious about whether or not it provides more protection than it poses a harm to the household, think about how you would use it. Most burglaries occur when people aren't home. That's why people buy timers with for their lights and stuff. And because like burglars really normally don't like breaking into homes when somebody's there. Okay, well, what about somebody who says, well, I don't care, I might be that 2% or 5%, because we don't know the numbers because the NRA is really good at paying whores like Todd Young, a senator from Indiana, who's a really big whore for the NRA. He took like $5 million over several years from the NRA and made a lot more as an NRA shill than he did as a United States senator. Well, they try to stop anything they can in terms of studies of gun violence. So if you're not at home, what do you normally do? You don't want people to know you're not at home. You don't let people, you don't go on the internet and say, hey, we're going on vacation, we're going to be away for 2 weeks, and people know where you live. You normally don't do that unless you got people who are going to be there. You've got an alarm system, or people will have lights and they'll put them on timers and stuff because you don't want people to know you're not at home, because burglars normally like to break in when people aren't there. Just watch Home Alone. You get kind of the idea. But let's say you're one of those people as well. I want to have a gun because I might be in that percentage of people they're going to just come in and rob. And there are home robberies. Don't be mistaken about that. But that's why we need more studies. And this is why. Because that person who says, I'm going to have this gun no matter what, if the studies show that he is more likely to blow his own brains out, or somebody in his family is going to be harmed or shot, than he is to deter people from coming in the house, that's something that we ought to be aware of. Because somebody like that, making a decision in our communities and say, well, got a right to be stupid if I want to be, but not while you're killing other people. Okay? So we need to have studies of guns as a health risk. The federal government will not allow it. Rather, the federal government is not allowed to do it by the NRA. So federal government can't do it. Indiana ought to do it. I'm running for Indiana House of Representatives, District 86. Now, Ed Delaney is the incumbent here. And I saw one of his signs yesterday. It said, running on the issues. His candidate running on the issues. I'm running on an issue of gun violence. I think we should study it as a health threat and not just sit back and say, I'm against guns. No, we should study it as a health threat. So if people are going to try and protect their homes, they ought to know whether or not that gun is going to pose more of a risk than it is something that's going to help them to protect their home and their loved ones. I have differences on issues with Representative Delaney. Guns is one of them. And so guns is a topic, singular. So I'm Mark Small. I'm a Republican. I'm pro-choice, pro-environment, anti-gun, anti-MAGA, anti-Trump. And I'm running for Indiana House, District 86. Peace, love, happiness. Catch you later.